going into this, I'm not suggesting that no. Get Out and this take place in the same universe, because, reasonably speaking, it is improbable that all events can happen one after another, especially in the case of US's ending instead. I find that the films all take place in a different universe, which is fitting, because Peele was the host of the short-lived 2019 iteration of The Twilight Zone, but the one thing that connects them all is the divine. I'm saying that in the multiverse of Peele movies, God's one recurring plot is eradicating mankind for their perceived wickedness. As for what started it all, well, it could be a variety of reasons, such as him sending his son to act as an emissary only for him to be killed by mankind. Even before that, God had already performed mass extinction events on humans such as the flood. However, every time in every universe where mankind grew gradually irredeemably evil, God would send calamities or plagues to wipe out the wicked. Now for the examples of where I would say God sent a calamity to destroy evil. There is Chris from Peele's directorial debut Get Out. While Chris doesn't wipe out mankind or anything of that sort, he does take out the great evil in his universe, the Armitage family. As many know or may not, the Armitages appear to be a normal family. Well, they had their odd quirks, such as Dean having to constantly tell Chris that he would have voted for Obama a third time, if he could. It's that classic "I'm so not racist" mindset that a lot of these progressive liberals attest to. However, despite their claims, they secretly run an operation where they kidnap African Americans so they could harvest their bodies by putting a white person's brain into their bodies, thus condemning them to the sunken place where they can only watch their bodies being operated against their consent. Chris would have become one of the victims of the surgical procedure, but he is able to escape and massacres each member of the Armitage family except for Rose, who dies because the man her grandfather was piloting temporarily reclaimed control of his body. The next indication is more obvious. Innes Red claimed that she felt that she was being tested by God and was under the impression that he was directing her to lead a tethered invasion on the surface world, which by far is the most nearly effective of God's plans. Nearly every American citizen, except for the main family, of course, is slain by their doppelgangers, who then form a long line in reference to the Arms Across America campaign. But who is to say the U.S. was the only country that dabbled around in making doppelgangers? So in what way were mankind proving themselves to be wicked yet again for God to initiate their destruction? A variety of reasons, but, in particular, They committed idolatry by having their possessions be their gods, such as when Mrs. Tyler was asking her smart house device to call the police, though that ends badly for her. They also coveted what their neighbors wanted under the assumption that they were entitled to own bigger or better than the person next to them. And, of course, they had no care for the literal lower class. So the classic case of the haves versus the have-nots getting to know. There is the popular theory that Team Jacket is an angel due to its resemblance to those biblically accurate angels like the Ophanim and Orwheels, even though I more lean towards the idea that it is just an atmospheric jellyfish or alien being that another extraterrestrial race brought in. But for the sake of this argument, let's say that God did send JJ with the purpose of destroying humanity, whose latest crime against the Almighty was an obsession with achieving the perfect spectacle. I'm willing to say that even before JJ was used as a vessel for God's wrath, that was one of the reasons behind Gordy rampaging on the set, because mankind had grown desperate to do whatever is possible to make it big. That also includes treating animals with zero respect to their nature and likening them to living props there to give the paying folks a quick laugh. That would mean that the shoe in that scenario was being held up by a supernatural force, likely as a means for Jupe to see it. For whatever reason, God felt like sparing him that day, the most reasonable being that Jupe could use the massacre as a lesson on what not to do and hopefully not face his wrath, which we all know he fails by profiting off his tragedy and believing he was in tune with animals.